Welcome to another episode of the WP Crowd. My name is Roy, as usual, and this is kind of the next episode of the Future of WordPress series. So I'm really excited to continue on that conversation. But before we get into it, I'm going to start with introductions. So introduce yourself, Cricket.
Hi, Roy. How's it sound? Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Roy. Hashtag hi, Roy. My name is Cricket, and I live in Denver, Colorado, and I've worked with WordPress since 2008 and as a web developer, and I'm for hire as a digital project manager right now and doing some freelance work in the meantime. So that's me.
Cool. And Nick.
I'm Nick Adams. I'm founder and lead developer at Revolt Media and one of the founding members of the WP Crowd and all of its ridiculousness and memes, along with Roy, as usual, whose last name used to be Sivan, but apparently it's Roy as usual now. I'll make sure that happens.
All right. So today we're talking about WordPress, the future, and more or less, Nick actually brought up this question in kind of like a pre-show, and the question is, where is WordPress going? Is it going anywhere? Is it still a thing that's growing, or is it kind of on a decline, if anything? So, Nick, why don't you kind of propose the question again, and let's kind of just take it step by step and see if we can try to answer it.
All right, yeah. So one of the things we see all the time that is really interesting is when like some big company uses WordPress or something big happens in WordPress and some people say like, oh, WordPress has finally made it, or WordPress is, suddenly something. And then other times we see that some company moves away from WordPress and all of a sudden everyone wonders, is this the end of WordPress? Probably 20 times in the last year, we've heard about the end of WordPress. And really the question that I'm wondering, and I think a lot of people wonder all the time, is WordPress on the way out? Or is it actually still on the way in? So, I think the answer to both is probably yes. And I think over our conversation today, we're gonna figure that out.
So, Cricket, let me ask you, or let me pose the question to you. If you see a big company that has a lot of clout in the industry go from a WordPress website to rebuilding in non-WordPress, what kind of feelings do you get about WordPress when you hear something like that? Do you think, man, WordPress is just not the way to go anymore? Or do you think like, hey, they're onto something? Or
but I'm usually looking all over the site to like find out what was the case study and what did they learn from it. I want to know why they chose the platform that they chose. Everything goes on requirements. And if they hired a reputable company to handle it, I mean, I'm kind of agnostic when it comes to platforms, as long as it meets the requirements, But there have been times when I thought, oh God, WordPress is over. It's so over. And I know last year, I actually stepped into Wix and I stepped into Squarespace and I stepped into, what's the other one? I don't know if we're even allowed to say these words. You can bleep them out.
I'll make sure to bleep them out in editing.
I stepped into those because I wanted to know what do these platforms have for clients or for projects. So I don't think WordPress is on the way out. And when a big company goes with something that's not WordPress, I do not get upset at all. But I really want to know why. Like, I really do. And it bothers me when I can't talk to the developers about it. So
yeah, I agree. Like when I see big companies switching over from WordPress to something else, I always just assume WordPress was maybe like a phase one or like a starting solution for them to get up and running, and they wanted something custom but not too custom. And then now that they're, let's say, big enough to purchase or pay for the resources to develop something 100% custom that fits their business needs, that's when they move away from WordPress and move into something that maybe is more relevant to what they need. And, WordPress is great and all, but when you are dealing with sites that you're kind of like hacking stuff together.
I mean, it's great for prototyping, wireframing. You know, companies might have set requirements around like the licensing issue. That might be a thing. That it's GPO. That might be a thing. And why
It is.
bigger company might
It
not
totally
do
is.
it.
I think another reason it doesn't phase me as much is because I work for a big company that uses WordPress, and we're not getting rid of it anytime soon.
Yay!
And one of the big things that I've come to, I guess, understand working for a big company, why WordPress is so great, is because big companies don't want to hire and then train people to do content, right? So if you are building a highly content-focused website, a blog site with articles and stuff like that, you don't want to have to hire someone to write content and then train them for a week on how to use your system. You want to have them be able to get off the ground running from day one. And WordPress is such a big platform, and so, you know, it's used in so many places. Most people have WordPress sites that they don't have to train them anymore. They have to train them on, yeah, there's some plugins that we use or some, you know, short codes that we've implemented because we have custom, you know, features, but for the most part, it's still WordPress. So I don't know if it really phases me that a big company stops using it, because I still think there's companies that are now using it more because of things like the API that just got introduced.
What was the company, Nick, that just launched and didn't go with WordPress?
Yeah, so just this week, Smashing Magazine announced that they were going to be launching a new website, and they put out the details on the new website, and they actually abandoned all CMS altogether, and so they don't have any CMS going, and they built the whole thing in APIs and Markdown, and so there was a lot of talk, and people were freaking out all over various groups and Twitter, and I don't even know where else.
How did I miss it? I missed it.
Probably in Drupal forums, people were talking about it.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think, Nick? Like, do you think that, do you think market share is going to take a hit because someone like Smashing Magazine all of a sudden decided they don't want to use WordPress anymore?
No, I mean, absolutely not. And I also don't think it's actually an indication of anything. Just like I don't think it was an indication. One of the things I was talked about last week was the fact that Facebook actually built some of their corporate sites on WordPress. Pretty cool. But I don't think it's really an indication of anything other than sometimes WordPress is the tool you need and sometimes it's not. They always say that when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, and the internet's just not, we aren't just a one tool belt, but the internet is built on all sorts of different technology. And so I think over time we'll see things like WordPress get a nod from a big company. Microsoft in the last few years has been using a lot of WordPress sites.
Disney.
And, Disney.
Well, I was going to say that
time.
if anything, there was the only shocker that happened to me this week was Pixar's new site is actually Squarespace.
Wow.
So that's another platform where I'm not sure if they were WordPress before, but I know, the Walt Disney Company does use a lot of WordPress kind of here and there. So you got to take the same question and apply it to anything else, right? Does the fact that Pixar uses Squarespace make me believe Squarespace is all of a sudden going to shoot up in market share? No, not at all. I think Squarespace is still derived for the people who you need Squarespace, and I'm sure there was some business reason for them to use Squarespace for their website. It probably wasn't to boost Squarespace in any measurable amount. It wasn't like, hey, we're going to build this in Squarespace because we want to help Squarespace out. No, they probably just didn't. It's Pixar's website. I bet you, while it gets a lot of traffic, and I'm sure a good amount of traffic, it's not what you go to when you want to think of Pixar, right? Like most of things when you're going to Google anything Pixar related, you're going to end up on IMDb, you're going to end up on some of the other websites that, talk more about the movies. And I bet you a lot of their applications aren't running within that Squarespace install. That's probably just a purely informational brochureware website. So it's interesting to see that kind of stuff also. But yeah, again, when something big moves to Squarespace, I don't think, oh man, Squarespace is now going to be the it thing and I should learn how to basically create Squarespace sites.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of times a single site, or even a whole bunch of sites in one industry, moving from one thing to another, they're always on some kind of new kick for everything. I mean, we're seeing Simple View kind of take over the tourism industry, and I don't think that means that all of a sudden every industry is going to. Simple View is good for tourism sites, and Ruby on Rails is good for plenty of web app sites, and we're seeing all the different JavaScript libraries that some are good for some sites and some are terrible. Some of them just don't make any sense, and so we're just seeing what I think was probably happening, but now we get the benefit of social media that helps us all freak out en masse.
I think WordPress is on the way in even more.
Yeah, I think
do.
that's true also, because I think that not just looking at the big companies now using WordPress, I think more and more people are using it, and you see more people moving to WordPress versus away from it at this point.
It supports everything that's happening right now with online content and online marketing and online learning, and how you can monetize now and memberships, and to grow communities, and the influencers with their podcasts and YouTube videos. And then they have special membership areas for people and doing courses. And with the e-com that WordPress can support and CMS backend, I think it's on its way in. I think people might go to different platforms to try them out, and then they'll come to WordPress because it supports all of that already.
Well, Nick mentioned prototyping a little bit earlier, and I think that's one thing that WordPress is actually really, really great for. And I think to look at WordPress as a whole, you have to look at what what the internet's doing, right? If websites are being created, every second, whatever, but businesses that are moving online and businesses that are people like wanting to start their own business on the side or whatever, that's where the real important figures are, right? So as more and more people start building new things online to help them with their livelihood, I feel like right now WordPress is still the best solution. I think that once they get big enough, they might move away from WordPress. But even look at e-com, right? If you're a mom and pop shop, or you are someone who does arts and wants to start selling, your art online, you don't really need Magento out of the box, because Magento is a great e-com tool. It's a great shopping cart platform, but it's expensive, it's bulky. You need a lot of support and a lot of resource time to actually get it up and running. While you could pretty much get a WordPress site with WooCommerce almost for free, for pretty cheap if you do it yourself. A couple, maybe $5,000 to $10,000 if you want to hire someone to do a really good job for you. But you could get up and running pretty quickly by yourself, and you got everything taken care of. So
that's what we're doing right now with wearablepress.com. It's not ready yet, but it's almost ready, and it sells WAPU t-shirts to the WordPress, to the people who know what WAPU is, which is WordPress people. And it was super simple. It's just a basic theme, and it's WooCommerce. And
there's a lot, if you want to talk e-commerce, there's definitely a lot I can say about that too, because if you are on our website right now, you'll see that we have a shop. The thing is, our shop integrates really well with WordPress, but it's not actually WordPress. I didn't want the overhead of having to deal with inventory and that kind of stuff, but I wanted to sell our t-shirts and stuff. So I use Spreadshirt, which actually allows us to only host, essentially have the website and have all the products almost on our website, but they're really not. They're actually loaded in from Spreadshirt. A person orders, pays Spreadshirt, and Spreadshirt deals with printing the t-shirt and shipping it. Because I didn't want any
text Spreadshirt. We're using Scalable Press, same deal.
Yeah, but I didn't want to deal with a lot of the inventory as well as with some of the payments. So I just tell Spreadshirt, hey, we want to make $1 off every t-shirt sold, and that's all we get paid. So every time someone buys a t-shirt, which is never, but if someone ever buys a t-shirt, we'll get $1 for it, and that's all I really wanted. So not just is WordPress great for getting up and running with your own, own store, but when it comes to e-commerce, there's things like Shopify also, which I never really liked Shopify, but now I'm helping out a friend with their Shopify and WordPress integration. And it's actually pretty simple, and Shopify handles so much of the overhead of the business side. Like, the problem with WooCommerce is that while as easy as it is, you still have to know the business side. You have to know how much do I have to tax people? How much do I have to pay for shipping? How much, like all of that gets factored in. With things like Shopify and things that are a little bit easier to kind of start with that integrate well back into WordPress, you got a great website and you got a lot of that overhead. Like it's a great prototyping, like your business tools, right? Like if I wanted to just test out the waters to see what would happen if I started selling something, WordPress and some of these other platforms are great.
You can do a rapid launch of a product.
Yeah, exactly. And once you get up and running and you proved out your concept, then you might move to a custom solution or Magento or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So I think WordPress is growing. It's still a rising star in the internet realm, just because the internet is still a rising star in the kind of economy.
I'm just going to pose another random question. Do you think WordPress is on the way in or out as a blogging platform?
Ooh, that's a good question. Because I think one of the funniest talks I've ever heard was a couple of years ago where someone's like, blogging with WordPress. Yeah, WordPress, you can blog with WordPress. And everyone kind of like stood back like shocked, like, oh yeah, WordPress is a blogging platform.
I think it's excellent for blogging. Excellent. I think it's going to grow for bloggers.
I think that while we could easily do another episode on WordPress versus like Medium versus some of the other competitors out there.
WordPress, Medium, and whatever
else.
Whatever still exists in the
RSS feed.
Well, I think you can blog on Squarespace and stuff, but
you can still blog on MySpace too.
And blog roll. What's the Google one? Blogger. Yeah, I think that's still around too.
Then there used to be Blogspot.
Anyway, I do think WordPress is a great blogging tool still. I think I don't know, just having this conversation with someone where it really depends on what you want out of your blog site, right? If you want just to get out there, Medium has actually been much better at you just getting going because you have Medium behind your post and you can actually get shares and kind of your post out there much faster, I think. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at people like Matt Mullenweg. Matt Mullenweg even posted something on Medium last week or 2 weeks ago. And I know his whole post was like, I'm just testing this thing out. But there's some hey, everyone's posting on Medium nowadays. So there is some credibility to that. If you want to have that personable credibility, you want to build your own brand, then I think more of your effort should be on the WordPress side. You own the code. That's a big plus. And it's your own brand. It's not medium.com/Roy. It's, roycvon.com. Mm-hmm. Do you find that people are moving away from WordPress as a blogging platform?
I mean, I do think that, some of the other ones have definitely shown that they have some things that WordPress doesn't have. I think the number one being the social clout, where it's become a thing that people are proud to have medium.com/ their username, including a lot of big name celebrities. They're kind of seeing it almost like the new Twitter.
Oh.
which is definitely on its way out. Just ask any of their stockholders. But we're seeing that that's one that's being moved over to almost, it started as a blogging platform, and still is, but is almost brought blogging back to the social media that it was back in the days of LiveJournal. And
Oh,
I
I had a
think
live
that's
journal.
really interesting.
Yes, live journal. I should dig that up. It's still out there, I bet. I tried to do a blog on Instagram. I was curious and I tested it out and I thought this is going to be my new blog. And that was before they had stories and videos and stuff.
But I know everyone's tried blogging. Even Facebook has, is it notes? You can write like notes,
Yeah.
which are like their blogging answer, but it's not really good.
I did have a successful blog in 2008, like super successful, and I was on it every single day, and that was WordPress. In fact, that was one of my first WordPress projects, and it was my own blog. And I'm trying to test out new platforms, so, and I think I'll continue to use WordPress for blogging.
I mean, if you look at probably the most successful blog sites that are still around nowadays, they're probably mostly WordPress. I don't know. There hasn't been a good competitor in the blogging realm for a long time, I think. I don't think there is one. Medium is good because you have the social clout built into it, but it's not your site. So really, you're not comparing apples to oranges. You're comparing two like things, but there's still big differences between the two. And so I'd say we'd have to see a new competitor out there, kind of like Ghost, I guess. Ghost was like supposed to be, the WordPress blog competitor, but you don't really hear too much about them nowadays. They're kind of around still, but not really.
Ghost.
Which was actually a WordPress contributor project.
I don't remember it. No.
It's still around, but you'd have to look for things that are, self-managed or self-hosted solutions that are focused on the blog. But I think before it even gets to that point, you're going to see, like with the new, what's the new thing called? The new UI? Gutenberg. See, like as soon as I think WordPress isn't going to go anywhere as a blog platform, because things like Gutenberg are going to come out before it makes WordPress completely irrelevant. I mean, it might be a little late, but things like Gutenberg, I think, are going to, reinvigorate the
Reinvigorate.
Reinvigorate.
Reinvigorize, it's a word now.
What was that NXS song?
It's going to be my next tattoo.
Reinvigorate the WordPress content creation community. People that focus on content creation. Because I think, no, you're right. Content creation in WordPress has taken a back seat for a long time now.
I don't think anymore. Is it supports everything. You can build a community on a WordPress website.
Yeah, you can build great things with WordPress. I think that WordPress as a strictly blogging platform has taken a back seat.
Oh, yeah. But I still think it can be more powerful than Medium. I mean, I think everyone wants to be everywhere and they want to be on every platform. And you're right. You want that URL, you want that asset. But I feel like certain things go to Medium, like long articles, long form content. But for your blog, it's more intimate. You can have short blog posts that speak to your community, and WordPress gives you the ability to draw people into your brand. You can host your mailing list opt-in and join mailing lists, free courses.
Yeah, but with Medium, you don't. If you're doing long blog posts on Medium, you're not getting the SEO credibility. You're not like
right.
That's good for SEO if you do it on your own site.
Yeah.
I liken it to certain people like buying houses. Some people like renting for their whole life. If you're a person who likes renting, Medium is the way to go.
I
don't think they compare, like you said it, Roy. You said apples and oranges. I think you should have both. Like, I don't think there's like I don't think someone say, oh, I'm just going to have my whole blog on Medium. I mean, that's a good starting point, just to be out there and have a platform in which to write. But I don't think there's much of a choice. To me, it's about features. And if they don't need the WordPress features, cool, just stay on Medium. But if they're trying to develop a brand name, they should also have a WordPress site for their blog and kind of break the content up in a way that the long form content on Medium can bring viewers or bring readers, but you always get the footer, the footer where you can link people back to your website.
But
So
keep in mind, again,
tandem.
Again, Medium isn't yours. So if Medium, you're renting. If the owner of Medium decides, hey, I don't want to own this anymore, all your content's now gone.
You have to print it out ahead of time.
Yeah. Print it out. File it away. Technology at its finest.
Yeah, or screenshot it like on the screen with your phone. Like this
that'll keep the content.
Right. Well,
but that's what I'm saying. Like, Medium just went through a big shift not that long ago where they, like, didn't they just unload a whole bunch of employees?
I didn't hear.
Yeah, I have to fact check this. But I'm pretty sure they just unloaded a whole bunch of people not that long ago because they did a big shift. So yeah, it's like in the long run, like if you really care about your content you care and you're passionate about should live in WordPress. I agree that maybe there's a kind of way to have both, but don't put stuff you really, really, really care about on Medium because in the end, it's not yours. Like, as soon as you press publish on Medium, it no longer belongs to you. So
good point. And I agree.
I don't see the plus side to it as much. Besides, obviously, the social clout you get right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get my Medium started.
I feel like I should have a Medium, but I really don't, and I don't want to write. I don't have enough energy to write enough as is, and I already have 2 or 3 places I need to write. I don't want to add another one, but I know that it's not a bad idea, right? Like, Medium is a good place to put some content down and get some credibility moving your direction.
Do you do any blogging, Nick? You writing?
Yes.
Yeah?
He writes on the WP Crowd.
You write on the WP Crowd. Well, I need to look. I thought you might, but...
He does. He has a couple articles on the WP Crowd.
I'll have to check it out. Maybe I can write something for you guys.
All right. So I'm going to wrap it up there. I feel like we've answered nothing, but, that's how we roll here at the WP Crowd.
I think I had too much caffeine today. I'm like really not feeling it. Do what you can in the edit.
I think what Nick said in the beginning was right. Is WordPress on the rise or is it on the decline? Yes to both. Because it's Schrodinger's WordPress. It's both in the decline and on the incline.
You can say Schrodinger's, but you can't say long form.
Yeah, Schrodinger's WordPress.
You're good on the talking.
Well, I think Schrodinger's long-form blog posts are really going to reinvigorize the community.
Yes. So
nailed it.
With that,
that's a wrap.
I'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, you guys. Bye.